Welcome back, benchwarmers. Another trade deadline has come and gone.
Major League Baseball is about to start the last third of the season, and there's a crowd of teams fighting for playoff contention.
Some teams made trades last weekend to get things started, and the last 36 hours were busy. I need to catch Brendan up.
Yeah, honestly, Corey's going to catch us all up on the highlights of the MLB Trade Deadline. I'm Brendan, back to the cellar.
I'm Corey, temporary Mariners fan, and this is Our View from the Bench.
Before we get started, if not already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss any one of the new episodes.
Also, if you could please do us the favor, if you like what you see or hear, please don't forget to smash that like button.
Smash it for us. Come on. It's free. It's free for you. It's free for us. Helps on the channel a lot more than you probably think.
Hell yeah.
Well, Corey,
Man,
as you said, trade deadline is here. And the Diamondbacks are poised for another Worlds. No, we're not. Just kidding.
No, we're not. We had our
Like I talked about. Yeah, like I talked about in my opening, we are back to the cellar. Even just of the NL West is sad. I mean, we're not as bad as the Rockies, right? But yeah, but we're not really competing, so it is what it is.
No.
But we honestly have a lot to cover here. We're gonna try to keep it brief for each one. Keep up. We're gonna highlight a couple of teams, our opinions on it. Then we'll try to pick some winners and losers at the end. So we're gonna kind of start close to home, not literally in LA, but in the sense of Diamondback fans and where we sent like half of our team, basically. So
Yeah, to Seattle.
to Seattle. The Mariners, as you said, you're a temporary fan of, they made some big trades. They're only 5 games back and tied in second of the AL West of the Astros. So similar to what they did, I think it was last year or the year before. Kind of buyers at the trade deadline, looking to improve to try to make a playoff push. I'm wondering. I think this year, it's going to pan out a little bit better this time. Fingers crossed than it did the last time, because I don't think it really panned out last time they were buyers.
No, you're right. It didn't. I think they made it in the playoffs and got beat in the first round or lost on the last day to get in because of Texas. I think that was the year that the Rangers unfortunately won the World Series. But yeah, they're going all in this year. Obviously, as we mentioned, Diamondbacks and Mariners just trading together. It seems like constantly the last, 8 or 10 years.
Yeah.
Started last week. They sent Josh Naylor over there to play first base, which I was like, okay, awesome. And then, of course, the Suarez thing, we kept waiting. I was just like, please, not the Dodgers. Just don't send. All right, Seattle, I'm in. That's great. Now he's back over there with, essentially they have the corner spots taken from Arizona now in Seattle, which is nice. They also got a little bit of bullpen help. They get Caleb Ferguson, left-handed reliever from the Pirates. So Mariners going all in and honestly just giving up a lot of prospects. Diamondbacks got 2 prospects, I believe both pitchers. So long-term thought for the Diamondbacks, but short-term for the Mariners, and hopefully it pans out this time better than the last.
Well, they have a lot of talent, and again, they're right there in the mix of everything. So I think it makes sense. And from what I remember, the Diamondbacks have one of the lowest rated farm systems in the league. So just getting prospects to try to boost it up. I'm not saying that good farm team equals good team, but a lot of the good teams have good farm teams. So it's somewhat relatable. And I'm hoping that the Diamondbacks have hopefully chosen the right prospects to pick up from giving up some of the best players, if not the best players that we've got. Besides, obviously, Corbin Carroll and the new addition that we got in the offseason, although he couldn't pitch for at all, Corbin Burns. So some of those people, obviously, we didn't lose, but a lot of them we did. And Suarez is a big one. So hopefully the prospects that they chose to get back are worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in the long term, even if the prospects are good and ranked high now by Baseball America and all that stuff, that doesn't mean they're going to ultimately play for the Diamondbacks. So if next year the Diamondbacks are making a run in July and instead of being sellers, they're buyers, then they have the prospects to then go out and get other major league talent and hopefully continue moving on to there. So that's kind of, I'm with you. It sucks this year that it went this way it did, but when you have half your, pitching whole staff on Tommy John surgery from April to May. I mean, I don't know what else you're supposed to do. So, and we'll just transition to the Diamondbacks because it is sell in Arizona. They also got rid of Randall Gerchik. They sent him to Kansas City, which is awesome. Kansas City's a nice little team and making a run in the AL Central. So happy for Randall. They trade Merrill Kelly this afternoon to the Rangers. So that's good for him. And not only that, Diamondbacks got 3 of the top 15 prospects ranked in the Ranger system in that trade. So again, getting the young, controlled talent. Hopefully it helps in the future. Last one was I don't even know how they did this today. Mike Hazen, props to you, sir. You traded Jordan Montgomery, who had Tommy John at the beginning of the year, and Shelby Miller, who's currently on the IL but coming back to Milwaukee. So got rid of all the bad pitching and expiring contracts, and kind of gives the Diamondbacks a chance not to reset, but to reevaluate going into the offseason, I guess is a good way to put it.
I don't know what the Brewers had to give up for it, but that's a lot to get in order to just be out in the first round. So we'll see if that pans out for them. The
Hey,
Merrill Kelly one's kind of
I think
funny.
they currently have the best, if not near the top of the whole MLB, but it is July 31st.
That's what a lot of people say. That's what a lot of people say. You know, they lose first round, but whoever beats them, right? Whoever beats them, you know, does well in the playoffs.
Yeah,
So
that's right. Hopefully the Dodgers don't play them.
before we move on, the Merrill Kelly one's kind of funny, especially going to the Rangers. You know, you and I talked about it before this started. I kind of gave the old because obviously we just lost to them 2 years ago in the World Series. You know, if you can't beat them, join them. So
Yep.
he's heading over to a winning team again, tied with the Mariners for just 5 games back. 5 is a lot, but just 5 games back at the Astros, fighting for at least a wild card spot, if not for the division crown. So see how that pans out. But again, kind of like what I said, Diamondbacks are back to the cellar. Cellar as in CELLAR because they are sellers, SELLERS. But yeah, so but yeah, we'll see.
Going on over here.
All kinds of sells.
No celebrating, just selling.
No, unfortunately, yeah, that was 2 years ago, and it stopped in the NL pennant. But that's all right. It's all right for a small market team. It's not bad.
True. Very good point.
We'll keep it in the American League. I know we were just talking about the Diamondbacks, but I mean back to the Mariners. We'll keep it in the American League and move on to the Yankees. They're already one of the top teams in the league. 3.5 games back currently from the Blue Jays, who are really having a pretty crazy run. I don't think nobody saw it coming, but I don't think that many people saw it coming. But they're kind of right in the mix. It sounds like Aaron Judge is on his way back. You know, he had a short stint out front. What happened? I forgot what he hurt.
Flexor, I think, in his right arm, because he threw a ball in from the outfield, and he kind of made a look at his elbow, which everyone freaked out, but they said it was a flexor strain. So nothing major, but just sitting him for at least, I think, 10 or 12 days and kind of seeing how it goes from there.
So he's good. One acquisition when they got Ryan McMahon from the Colorado Rockies for a couple of pitching prospects. I already saw him kind of highlight exactly why they picked him up. Yep. Crazy defensive play and a great defensive player on the hot corner there. So that's one of the big ones. Why don't you kind of tell us about a couple of the others?
Yeah, so the other one is they get infielder Ahmad Rosario from Washington Nationals. He can kind of play multiple positions, so gives them more positionality, as like baseball people like to say these days. The other one was they get relief pitcher Jake Bird from the Rockies. So apparently the Rockies had a couple.
Well, they are selling.
I think they've been selling since the season started, unfortunately.
Yeah, seriously. Not selling tickets, unfortunately.
No, not at all. Then the Yankees go out and get some more bullpen help. They get David Bednar, the closer from the Pirates, who last year had a really bad year compared to the past, but he was able to kind of figure things out. Now, his save number might not be very high, but that's because the Pirates don't have a lot of opportunities to get saved.
Yeah, just ask Paul Skeens.
Yeah, exactly. But his ERA and his numbers and whip and all that stuff are great. So another bullpen guy, and again, keeps him away from other teams in the AL that are also going for a run at this title. Then they get shortstop Jose Caballero from the Tampa Bay Rays, which is interdivision, which I kind of think was strange, but it's a smart move.
Well, they play at the Yankee Stadium, kind of, right? Point. I mean, the Steinbrenner Field.
So they get Caballero, but he leads the league in steals with 34. So I think that's just they're trying to bring another element to the team. And they give up a prospect and a player to be named later or cash, so you don't have to give up a whole lot there. And another bullpen arm, they go out and get Camilo Doval from the Giants, who's a reliever. So Yankees just going heavy in the bullpen, which is what they need. Because last year, they scored a ton of runs, but they couldn't pitch and couldn't play defense. So to your point, McMahon coming over, which allows Jazz Chisholm to go back to second base, where he's a little better in that position defensively than he is at third. So it kind of shores up a little bit their infield. Their outfield could still be a question mark come playoff time, as far as
Aaron Judge can't seem to catch a fly ball in the playoffs somehow.
It's crazy. He didn't have an air all year in the outfield until that play in the top of the fifth. You never
5-0. We'll never live it down, to be honest with you.
No, he probably won't, unfortunately for him. Unless he gets back and wins a title, then it might go away, or we might it might be a blip on the radar compared to the main conversation.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I think the Yankees are still obviously in the mix. They'll most likely be in the playoffs. So it's just a matter of whether or not they can. Honestly, stealing is kind of important, especially in the playoffs. If you go back to the Red Sox with Dave Roberts, speaking of, paper, that was an important game. They were about to lose and be out of it, and it turned around to where that run was able to make a World Series W. So even something as small as getting somebody who can steal a base or two is pretty big.
Yeah, absolutely, and that could be maybe he's a pinch runner late in the game because it's a tie game in the 8th, and you don't, you know what I mean, in the playoffs. There's no ghost runner in the playoffs, so if we get to the 10th and you get a guy on and he's on your bench, that could be somebody you utilize in that sense. So just gives them again more optionality and things that they can play with. Hopefully, Aaron Boone can use it correctly, or they don't screw it up defensively for them in the first place.
Yeah, true. We're going to skip this one. We'll go back to it real quick, but let's stay in the AL East. Speaking of the Blue Jays, who are at the top of that division, they grab another arm, Shane Bieber. Big name, honestly. That's pretty big because he was, I feel like early in the year, people were talking about him in Cy Young talks. I don't know if it's still panned out that way, but he's definitely a top-notch player. So kind of getting that into their rotation will be a pretty good pickup, no?
Yeah, and actually what happened was early on he kind of had an injury. So he's been rehabbing in AAA the last couple weeks. So he's in a sense going to be fresh when he gets to Toronto and can just kind of stretch himself out and go. So it kind of is not only just a trade addition, but a fresh arm in a sense. He hasn't really been pitching a lot this season so far. So fresh start, hopefully here at the back end, and maybe that is ultimately what helps him in the playoff because the Blue Jays have not been in a while, and you know Guerrero and Bichette and all these young kids have finally started to figure out. And Springer has been playing well. I know he got knocked out, hitting the head the other day, so I don't know if he's on concussion protocol or anything, but he's had a great year. I think Toronto in general, as you said, nobody's super shocked that they're here, but I think everyone's just a little like, I thought maybe one more year you guys were away, but to be leading the division going into August in the AL East is really good for them considering how long it's taken them to get this young core figured out.
I bet you if you would have told the fans that they were in flip-flop, the Yankees were 3.5 games ahead of them, they'd be happy with it, you know? Because I just don't know if they were really, thinking about that. To your point, I think it was like a next year thing.
Yeah.
But glad he's doing well, and the team is too. So.
Yeah, and Dalton Varsho's there, who's former Diamondback. So there's a couple guys there, and Vladdy Guerrero Jr. I mean, who doesn't like him? Guerrero Jr. It's hard not to.
I liked his dad, so
yeah, it was pretty fucking good too.
Yeah. Angels, woo.
Yeah, I remember working for there and seeing Vlad as a kid. Like, dang, that kid's fat.
That's crazy.
Now here he is, MLB, and with one of the biggest contracts in baseball. So
good for him. Get that money, brother.
Do it.
All right, well, let's get back to the Cubs. Switching over to the NL Central, they are leading or tied basically. They're kind of going back and forth with the Brewers there. I know I knocked the Brewers. I feel like they're a one and doneer kind of thing. They're like, oh my god, look at the Brewers this year. And then like even when we made the World Series run, everyone was like, I don't know, this Brewer team could be pretty good. And they didn't win one game. We swept them. So it was like. Okay, yeah, are they that good? And I feel like almost the same thing happened last year. So I'm not really sold on the Brewers until they prove me otherwise. But the Cubs doing what they're doing, what they pull off?
Oh man, did they go out and get some arms, which is really the only issue, and I wouldn't say issue, but the only thing they needed to worry about. They scored a ton of runs. I think if they're not the best offense in baseball, they're near the top, and they have been all year. Pete Crow, Armstrong, Kyle Tucker, they've been just killing it. So they went out and got a starter from the Nationals. Now, when I say Mike Soroka, a lot of people might not know that name because, again, pitching in Washington. And he did have an under 500 record, and his ERA was 4.5. But if you look at the statistics, I'm just going to say stats.
Statistics.
The whole thing. If you look at the expected stats of the way he pitches and the game is played, as bad as that national team is, his numbers should actually be better. He should be over 500 with wins, and his ERA should be closer to 3.3. So if he can take what he's been doing in Washington and put it in Chicago with everything built around him, all those numbers should drop and look a lot better. So I think he overall will be better. Then they get Andrew I'm going to mess this
Kittredge.
Okay, there you go. From the Orioles, so another reliever. And then they get a utility guy, Willie Castro, from the Twins, because the Twins just unloaded everything today. So
yeah, literally.
I
don't even know if they have a team to field, to be honest.
11 of 26 players on their active roster were traded in the last 2 days. And I think
I was just kidding. 11's a lot.
Yeah, and going into next season, I think they've only got 2 or 3 guys under contract at this moment, and one of them is
Talk about a reset.
And Buxton, the only reason he didn't get traded is because he has a no trade clause. So
otherwise they probably would have dumped him too.
Yeah, exactly. He's the only one left. So, but yeah, Cubs went all in.
As they should.
And not just because earlier when we did a recap after the first month, we've picked who are we going to have in the World Series.
No, it's fine. Go ahead and gloat. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But I did watch. There was a play the other day where I can't remember who the Cubs were playing, but there had to do with the way they were running the base path, and they totally confused the other team and thought there was an out, but there wasn't. They were able to score. And it's all these little smart plays, the high IQ plays that the Cubs have started to make this year. And it's a big part of it is because Craig Counsell is their coach. I think Craig Counsell played that way as a player in his career. And even in Milwaukee, he was winning all the time with not a lot of payroll. Not that they're still not winning without him. But then he came to the Cubs a year ago, and they were completely at the bottom. And here in a year and a half, he's turned them into one of the best, if not best, teams in baseball. So I think the Cubs made some really smart moves on the bullpen. If their offense and everything can stay healthy, they are going to be scary to deal with come October.
To your point earlier, they have scored the most runs in Major League Baseball. They've scored 570, and that puts them 2 ahead of the Dodgers and 6 ahead of the Yankees, teams that we obviously know can hit the ball, with the freaking Dodgers having 3 MVPs in their freaking starting lineup. Yeah. It's insane. So yeah, that's one thing. But yeah, I mean they're leading the league in runs scored. So yeah, they need the arms.
We talked about it earlier. Offense is great, but you're going to need pitching come postseason. So that's ultimately what's going to win you a World Series.
Agree. We're going to stay in the National League, but we're going to jump over to the East now. Mets, first place Mets, granted only by a half game, but the first place Mets, they're bolstering up, I guess you would say, for a hopeful playoff run. They did great, made it to the National League, the NLCS last year, lost to the Dodgers, even though I was rooting for them, son of a bitch, but that's okay. What'd they do this week?
So they go out and get one of the bigger bullpen guys that was on the market because there was a lot of talk of the Dodgers getting Tyler Helsley from the Cardinals. They were able to get him for just a couple of draft prospects, nothing crazy. Then the big one this afternoon, which I didn't see happening, was they went out and got outfielder Cedric Mullins from the Baltimore Orioles. Now, great center fielder, is going to solve the problem for the Mets in the outfield as far as their defense is concerned. And he's so good, get this, that he wears number 31. He called and talked to the Mets after the trade and was like, I wear 31. I've only worn 31. Is it possible I can wear 31 even though Mike Piazza's number's in the stands? And the Mets said, yeah, we'll go ahead and let you wear that number. So they must think he is important and a big piece of what they can do moving forward because, as you said, the NLCS last year, and they pretty much brought the same team back as well. Like, they didn't lose Alonso in free agency like they could have. They paid big and brought him back in. I think the Mets are poised for a run here. The Mets and Phillies down the run in the AL or NL East.
Yeah, that's going to be nuts.
What a battle.
I wonder how Mike Piazza feels about that.
Well, I would assume they called him and asked him first, right? I mean, you're not going to just take his number and allow him to be worn by someone else without calling him. But I haven't heard any of the details yet. I just know Cedric asked and he was granted to be able to wear 31, at least for now. We'll see what happens. He's not worn it on the field yet. So
True. I guess we'll see. Put a little asterisk next to it. So
yeah,
this is also Mike. All right, let's move over then back to the American League. Let's go with the arguably best team in the freaking country right now.
Yep.
Detroit Tigers. Yes, Corey, I know you also picked them. Go ahead and keep gloating because it was a while ago you did both the Cubs and the Tigers, and they've held strong through the dog days of summer, like we've talked about before. They added a ton of pitching. Yeah. Not that they need help at the start. Tarek Skubal is insane, but it's more than just one pitcher. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
break down who they were able to kind of acquire.
Well, they started off by going to the Minnesota Twins in their division, who were selling everybody, as we mentioned earlier. So they were
11 of 26. That's crazy.
That's literally almost half your team. It's got to be a record. I can't imagine.
Yeah, true. I'll try to see if I can find
it. So they went ahead and got pitchers Chris Paddock and Randy Dobnik from the Twins. Again, sent minor leaguers in exchange. Then they got pitcher Rafael Montero from the Atlanta Braves, who the Braves haven't had a great year overall as a team, but they've had some nice guys in the bullpen. Excuse me. So they were able to, get a piece there. They get pitcher Cody Hewer from the Texas Rangers, which, the Rangers are making moves, but maybe they were able to get Merrill Kelly in and other guys because of this trade as well. And then another former D-back of our friends that we know, Paul Sewald from the Cleveland Guardians, is now a Tiger. So another veteran in the back into the bullpen to have to try to get through 8 or 9 innings. We'll see what happens with the Tigers, but it's just pitching on pitching on pitching. Another closer, Kyle Finnegan from the Nationals. Again, Nationals don't have a great roster or team record, but they have a lot of nice little pieces. So this is another one they got rid of. And the last one is they get Charlie Morton, starting pitcher from the Orioles, who was on the Astros.
Still playing?
Yeah, still playing. I think he's 40 41. So another veteran arm to go with. Tarek Skubal at the top. Their Tigers are looking really good. And again, we've talked about pitching in playoffs last year. They had pitching that couldn't score, but Tarek Skubal and them got figured out in the second round. So the more arms you can have to throw at guys this time of year, the better. I mean, you can't have enough arms, unfortunately.
So I looked it up, and from what I can see, that is the most. I saw something else. I don't remember the team. I closed the tab already where there was 10
Oh,
in
whew.
one season. So 11 is, I mean, like you said, it's 2 away from half of their starting active roster.
Yeah,
So that's pretty insane. The Twins are literal sellers. Let's keep
yeah.
it with that theme. You have a fun note here on a set of Twins, not necessarily the Minnesota Twins, but you have a note on the Twins. What is up with this? This tripped me out. I didn't even know about this.
Yeah, so Taylor and Tyler Rogers are twin brothers. They're both pitchers in the MLB. Actually, last season they were both on the Giants because when I went up to San Francisco for a game with my dad, the couple that was sitting next to me, one of them, I don't remember which one, but one of them came into the game from the bullpen, and she was like, "Wait, the guy I'm looking up says he's right-handed. This guy's left-handed." And I go, just so you know, they're twin brothers. One's righty, one's lefty, and they're both.
That's
And
so funny.
oh my god, are you see? I would have never figured that out. So, not only are they twin brothers who both pitch in the MLB, but they both got traded on the same day to different teams. So, one which was Taylor goes from the Reds to the Pirates, and then actually the Pirates then went ahead and flipped him to the Cubs. So again, Cubs got another arm in the bullpen.
Okay.
Then Tyler Rogers gets acquired by the Mets from the San Francisco Giants. So again,
Where you saw him.
yeah, before where I saw him last year. So both getting traded on the same day, but then one of them gets traded the next day. So 2 guys, 3 trades in 2 days. I'm confused. I'm lost.
2 brothers, 1 family. That's crazy. That is pretty crazy. All right, back to let's go back to the teams now. Sorry about that. Let's hit up the NL Central. When we're talking about the Brewers and the Cubs kind of fighting for it, one team that is good, way better than anybody thought this year for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Besides obviously Ellie, a lot of people like Ellie, but the Reds, they're 8 games back right now in the division, but I think they're a little bit closer on the wild card. They turned into buyers right now. What do you think about that?
I mean, I have to say I'm kind of shocked, but also kind of happy for the fans in Cincinnati. They haven't been buyers in a really long time. And yeah, they're not going to catch the division probably, but if they're that close,
3.5, I just looked.
I was just going to say 4. Perfect. If they're right in range right there, you can, and then there might be a couple teams in traffic, but you're probably going to play some of those teams along the line here as well.
True.
So you can kind of knock them down. But I think it's a good thing. The Reds haven't had any really chance of making a run for a playoff spot. And God, I can't even remember when, Joey Votto was still there probably. It's been a long time. So it's exciting for the Reds fans, and I think it's a good thing, some of these smaller markets making a little bit of a run and buying at the deadline. And
they're such a legendary team, with the big red machine and stuff.
Pete Rose. Yeah. Sometimes you have a really good run, and then, you don't have a really good run for a long time. Unfortunately, the Reds have been on a bad side for a while here.
Well, Ellie's a star in the league. Seems like a fun dude to be around too, like a good personality, not just a good player. So hopefully they can stay relevant. To your point of who they got to go through, though, so far the other NL wildcards are Cubs, Phillies, Padres. So it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. But and if you swap it out, Phillies to the Mets, it's still not, because obviously that division is a half a game apart. So it's going to be tough regardless.
Why they went and got Zach Little in the 3-team deal with the Rays and the Dodgers to get more bullpen help, because if they're going to make a run, they're going to need it. And then Miguel Andujar, utility infielder guy from Oakland. Oh, sorry, the Athletics. I don't know where they play anymore.
From the Athletics, correct? Yeah.
And then in that trade that they gave up Rogers, they did get Cabrian Hayes at third base. So who's a nice young third baseman. I've been hearing about him for the last 3 or 4 years, but again, in Cincinnati, where he was in Pittsburgh, you never hear about him, but now he's in Cincinnati. They're making a run. Hopefully he becomes the man at the hot corner for the future of the team.
Well, good for them. Good for them. Let's stay in the National League. One of those teams that I just mentioned that was above them is the Phillies.
Yeah.
We had talked about it. You had shown me, because you had seen speaking of Twins, you had seen a Twins game where the newly acquired closer comes in, and his intro is, I don't know how else to put it, but electric is the best way that I can think about it. When I was talking to a coworker of mine, Jasmine, shout out. She's a huge Dodgers fan, and she pays attention to baseball more than I do. She is all up on this stuff. So huge Dodgers fan, and she had told me that was actually somebody that they were thinking about acquiring. And when I remember, I was like, I'm pretty sure that guy with the. So I showed her the intro, or his intro. Yeah, it's basically as like chilling as Enter Sandman for freaking Mariano Rivera. Yeah. Obviously, maybe not the same level of player. Mariano's a legend, and maybe Duran will get there someday, but it was crazy. And when she was like, "Oh, dude, Dodger fans would eat this up. This would be
Oh
a great if they brought it here." And I couldn't agree more. I think that would light up Chavez Ravine like
Mhm.
nothing else.
Absolutely.
But that didn't happen.
Nope.
Thank goodness.
Woo.
And he's on his way to Philadelphia. I think that's great, bro. I think this is pretty big. The Phillies are already a good team, right?
Oh yeah, they're fantastic. They have. I mean, I didn't really think. I mean, they're that good, so they're going to buy something at the deadline. I just didn't know
Right.
what it was because I didn't know if they really needed anything. But again, you can never have too much pitching. So having a fire rocket guy in the back of the bullpen to close games. And you're right, having been in Minnesota for him. And you know what? I think Mariano Rivera's might have been even better if back then they had the lights in the stadium that could turn on and off instead
True.
of taking
Because
10
it's more
hours
just the
to heat up.
song. Yeah.
Oh, that was so stupid. But yeah, so I think, and then not only that, the Phillies go out and get Harrison Bader from the Twins. Again, Twins selling everybody. So they get another outfielder who's got a nice pop to his bat, which is going to be nice at the back end of that lineup. I think the Phillies might be right behind the Cubs as the best team as far as the roster is concerned in the National League. And I'm not including the Dodgers.
I'm not including. Yeah, I was gonna say you can't leave out the Dodgers, obviously, but yeah,
They're on their own planet over here. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but they are. So
Hollywood, baby.
the Cubs are right there below it, but them two, I believe, will be in the NLC, or one of them will be in the NLCS, if not both, depending on how the matchups all come at the end.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's move over to that Hollywood story then. The Dodgers, although, it's kind of one of those rosters like we talked about. You don't really need to tweak it all that much or add too much. I know that they were looking for some closing pitching because their current closer is, in my friend Jasmine's words, atrocious. His ERA is in the fives. He's not great. And so obviously getting somebody like Duran would have been nice, but they did make a couple little bit of a moves here. What did you see them do?
Yeah, so and I'm going back to the Twins. Here we are, Twins making a trade for another team.
They're going to be pretty much in everything that we talk about.
At this point, I mean, they traded 11 guys, so we're going down about 18 so far. They're pretty much involved with everybody, so they get around. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, whoa.
So Brock Stewart, the bullpen reliever, they're going to send to the Dodgers. Now, the Dodgers did actually send a major league talent out back in this, in outfielder James Outman, which interesting. I didn't expect him to, although his offense hasn't quite gotten up to par what they expect. So he's got a nice glove.
And if you watched I don't know if you watched the last game, he gave up what should have been a catch. Now, it would have been robbing a home run.
Correct.
But what should have been a catch into a triple to lose the game just before Andy Pages messed up a free fly ball out in foul territory. So, yeah, they weren't too happy with that. They're like, you know what? Next day, go ahead and get on out of here.
Get out. And then they go and get an outfielder from the Nationals, Alex Call, which not a lot of people know. His career offensive numbers are not very good. Defensively, he is decent. So I think that's their main concern. It'll probably be a platoon thing with him and Conforto in left field moving forward the rest of the year because for whatever reason, Mookie Betts doesn't want to play right field, even though it's his best position in baseball. Whatever. Thankfully, he wants to keep playing short as far as I'm a Dodger hater, so I'll go with it.
True. Yeah, they have enough offense, so, acquiring people to help in the field is probably a little bit more of what they're looking to do. So, I don't think
the scary part for me is no matter what move the Dodgers do, if any fans think, who knows who that guy is? The Dodgers know exactly what they're getting and why they're getting him, so they're gonna be fine. Those guys
they're unfortunately quite a smart organization.
Yeah, it's gonna be Tommy Edman and Kopech version 2.0 from last year, unfortunately, but I hope not. We'll see.
Right? I mean, how do you have those names on your roster and Edman is the NLCS MVP? That's crazy. Good way to put it. All right, let's jump back to the American League here before we round out with the National League because that's kind of like where I like to be. Mm-hmm. The people that are trying to give a run to the Dodgers, we'll leave them for last. Let's move over to the Red Sox. Not really necessarily in the heat of it, but not necessarily out of it either in the American League. Only 5 games back of the Blue Jays first, and they're in the wild card right now, up a game on the Mariners, who we talked about as someone that you're rooting for. Yep. So they make a couple of small acquisitions. What did you see there?
Yeah, nothing major. They go out and get Steven Matz from the Cardinals. He's used to be a starter. I believe they've turned him into more of a reliever at this point. And then they go and get Dustin May from the Dodgers. So now they have Walker Buehler and Dustin May in their starting rotation. Dustin May was just an expiring contract for the Dodgers. So they get outfielder James Tibbs III, which I think they were just trying to get something before May walked away. And there was also talk of the Dodgers going to May, and now with Ohtani coming healthy on the mound and Snell coming back and Glasnow, that maybe we could use you as a reliever. And I don't know if he was necessarily against it, but I don't think that's his preference. So I think a better way was like, you know what, we're going to send you somewhere else where you can start and have an opportunity, and give you some not put you in a position that you don't want to be in here. So I think they did right by
That's
him
nice.
trading him to the Red Sox. I just don't think the Red Sox, like, even if they get in, that they don't scare me. Their lineup is decent, Bregman, a couple guys here and there, but nothing that's like, oh, that is a hell of a lineup we're going to have to get through. And the rotation, Crochet at the top of the lineup, but I think that's about it as far as pitching. Nobody again scares me on the Red Sox.
Let's stay with that because I saw some stat the other day. I actually think they're better off since trading Devers. I saw a stat the other day, I think it was earlier today or maybe it was yesterday, that the Giants have the worst win-loss record since acquiring Devers, and they've scored the fewest runs in Major League Baseball since getting him as well. So maybe everyone's like, how could the Red Sox do this? Well, actually, maybe they don't. Maybe they saw something coming that was that we all didn't.
Yeah.
I know he was like being moody about wanting to play and then not play, but you signed me as a hitter and I just want to do that. And then all of a sudden he changed his mind when he got to San Francisco. He's willing to do whatever they wanted. It sounded nice at the surface, and a lot of people killed the Red Sox at the beginning, but they look a lot better now than the Giants do. So maybe it was a smart move.
But also it could be one of those short-term things where the Red Sox look better now and the Giants look worse, but come next year when he's got a whole winter and off season to prepare, knowing he's going to be playing first and hopefully get some defensive work in, maybe he's off to a better start next year, and the Giants are as well. But also, as a Diamondback fan, I never want the Giants to win because I want to.
No, and honestly, besides the Dodgers, I hate to say it, but the Giants is my least favorite team in the division. I know you don't like the Dodgers, but because we're from here and I don't hate anybody on that team right now, they're like closest towards the top of the 5 teams. Rockies are indifferent. I am so indifferent about them. It doesn't even matter. And the Padres, never really been a fan of the Padres. So, but the Giants are my least favorite. So I'm with you. Boo, Giants. All right. This is the biggest one. This was a bomb today. I didn't see it coming, but let's talk about the Minnesota Twins trading away somebody else. Carlos Correa, bro, heading back to Houston. I mean, obviously he's won a title there. One of them he didn't deserve. So that's pretty cool. But I think this is pretty big. They're already in first place of the division by 5 games.
Yep.
They don't need any more defense or hitting, but they just got it anyways. So what do you think? I knew they did more, but what do you think of that? And then tell us what else they did.
Yeah, I think Correa getting Correa back is great. 2, it's not an expiring deal. He's got 3 years left. The other thing is Minnesota's paying 30 of the $140 million they owe him left.
Oh, so I didn't even know that part. They don't even. Oh my gosh, they're eating the contract too.
Just a little bit of it. And I believe I read that Correa will be moving to third because they have the young kid at short. I want to say Pena, who won the MVP of the World Series when they were in it the last time. So in Altuve at second. So the infield is going to be solid. Christian Walker at first, so kind of rooting for the Astros. Is that
a little bit? I guess.
But I think Correa and Altuve back together, and Houston's going to make those boos when they're visiting other teams even louder, especially if they play the Yankees in the playoffs. That's going to come back.
Agree.
But I also think in a weird way, Correa is going to use it as fuel, and he's going to have a hell of a second half of a season, and the Astros will go on a tear, which is scary to think.
Unfortunately. Again, even if it's legit this time, I'm still not rooting for it because of what happened. Yes. People don't forget. What's that from?
Yeah, people never forget. Too bad. But yeah, you mentioned they also did a couple moves. They get outfielder Jesus Sanchez from the Marlins. Again, not a lot of people probably know who that is, but he's a very nice offensive guy, plays defense pretty well, so he's going to fit in good in Houston. They also go out and get third baseman Ramon Urias from the Orioles. So again, another guy who can play multiple positions in the infield. So maybe Correa does some DHing and doesn't play in the field defensively because he's getting to the back end of his career and kind of preserve him a little bit. I know he said.
I don't know. The middle of Correa and Altuve, just right there. There's something about that chemistry. The way they can turn 2 all the time is something about it. So
again, it gives them optionality. They can do that some days. They can move people to third. They can DH Correa. They can kind of, they have multiple options. Which in this day and age of baseball, that's what you want. You want guys that can play multiple positions and give you more options as far as setting a lineup. So. As far as I hate to say it, the Astros are looking damn good for a run here, but I really don't want them to win another one.
Yeah, when we get to our winners and losers, I wanted to pick them, but I didn't pick them because I don't like them. So
yes, facts, totally.
But before we get to that, We'll round it out with the National League West. Padres, as always, well,
Mm-hmm.
they have been for the past few years at least, buying again. They're making a run. They're only a couple games back. Let me look. They are 3 games back of the Dodgers right now. So they are, and the Dodgers seem to be like teetering. They're not necessarily
Yeah.
going on a huge dip, but they're just hitting that 500.
Yeah.
They're 5-5 in the last 10. So it's just good old average for them. If the Padres can make a run towards the end, they might be able to take it. But this is kind of where the Dodgers were last year, so I'm not banking on it.
True.
But what did the Padres do to try to catch them?
Okay, so first of all, I'll tell you, they didn't do any trades with the Twins, so no more Twin talk.
Oh, wow. Wait, that's what I was waiting for. I was waiting to see who they acquired from the Twins. Go ahead.
No, so the first thing they did is they went out and last night or first thing this morning, I guess, depending on your timing, they went and made a trade with the A's. They get closer Mason Miller, who I believe is under controlled contract for the next 3 or 4 years. So that's a huge win for the Padres. And they kept Suarez.
Closer, you said?
Yeah, and they kept Suarez, who was their closer. So now they have 2 closers at the back end of the bullpen, which can be scary.
Didn't they acquire a closer, to your point, a couple years ago? I forgot that guy's name.
Oh, yeah. Who was
He had like long hair.
That is escaping me, but I think you are correct at the moment.
Okay, go ahead. I'll look it up.
And then in that same deal with the A's, they also get J.P. Spears as it was a starting pitcher, which that made everyone think, oh, they're definitely going to trade Dylan Cease now. They didn't. They kept Dylan Cease. They didn't trade Robert Suarez. They kept all the pitching. So they basically gave up prospects in all these deals and didn't give up any major league talent. So kudos to them to do that. They go and get Nestor Cortez from the Brewers. So just a nice left-hander just to have another starting pitcher or bullpen guy, depending on what role you want him to fill. And then the big one I thought this morning or this afternoon before the deadline, probably about an hour, they get first baseman Ryan O'Hearn and outfielder Ramon Laureano from the Orioles. So now you have O'Hearn, you can DH and play him at first. You can Cronenworth at first base. You got Merrill in the outfield and Tatis, and just they've got so many names, but they tend to always have the names, and it doesn't always mean wins in October. But hopefully this year's different, especially if they play the Dodgers. I'd like to see the Padres at least get to a World Series. I feel like they've been buying for the last few years and just
right there
off yet. Yeah, they're
it
so
was Josh Hader.
Hader, yeah, and he didn't like it, and he didn't want to pitch more than 3 outs, and he bitched and complained, so he left.
Yeah, pretty much. So, but this is kind of what the Padres do. They get a push. They even push the Dodgers to the brink. I mean, they were up 2-1 last year, and then they just couldn't score a run ever again. It seemed like so. We'll see if that changes. But Padres big buyers, but not from the Twins. Oddly enough, not from the Twins. They ran out of players to trade.
D-backs and Twins made no trades because they were both selling, so nothing to do with each other.
True. Well, that was a lot. And I know we missed some, but we can't literally sit here and talk about all like 70 players that were traded and acquired throughout the trade deadline here. But those are some of the highlights for teams that we won. Well, the Diamondbacks are sellers, but basically a lot of the buying teams that we wanted to cover. So let's start with losers. Actually,
okay.
Let's start with our deadline loser. Who'd you got as the loser?
All right. We didn't even talk about this team, but that's why I think they're a loser at the deadline. The Guardians. They're 2.5 games back of a wild card. I know they're not going to catch the Tigers for the division because they're like 10 games up. But considering the Guardians were in the playoffs last year, they've been in the playoffs pretty consistently the last, 5 to 6 years.
Is Francona still there?
No, it's Steve Vogt. He took over last year. So
Vogt, okay.
He won Coach of the Year last year in the AL.
Okay.
He's there again this
Sorry
year.
to cut you off.
No, you're good. I don't know why you wouldn't do even something like, you gave up Bieber, but you didn't get anything that's going to help you to make a run. And then there was talk about trading Quan, but they didn't end up doing that. You know what? Also, they talked about trading 2 pitchers, and then they couldn't because they got in trouble for gambling issues. So maybe maybe they're just losers all around trade deadline and everything else that's gone.
Class A, bro. That's right, dude. Oh my gosh, that's something else, man. He's lights out too, so he might be out of lights soon. I don't know. That's not doing very well. Ouch.
So I'm going Guardians losers only because they didn't do anything to help. Again, I'm not saying they're going to make a run and have a chance at a World Series, but crazier things have happened when you just add one little thing on the side just to, get them just to change the locker room a little bit. But they gave up Bieber, who, again, we talked about hasn't pitched much this year, so not a huge loss on that. But I think not bringing anything in to just give them a little bit of like, hey, we got you, we're behind you.
We're trying.
Yeah, we're trying to get you guys some help. But to do nothing, I think, is not going to be beneficial for that team.
Maybe they were afraid to acquire other gambling addicts. I don't know.
Well, if they called the Twins, they were selling everybody. They could have gotten somebody.
Could have got somebody. Jeez. Yeah.
All right, who's got loser, sir?
Well, I call it a loser, kind of similar to what I just feel bad, man. It sucks. I'm calling the Diamondbacks losers, and not necessarily that they had a bad trade deadline. They got rid of players who are worth something. They acquired hopefully good prospects,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean it in the sense of like, bro, we were just there 2 years ago. I mean, 2 years is a long time, but it's not that long. I mean, the roster hasn't changed that much, and they've only made acquisitions to try to get better.
Yeah.
But it seems like we're going backwards. I just don't like it. It sucks. We're kind of heading back to that mediocre area.
Yeah.
It was kind of good to get rid of Montgomery. We gave him some money. Not enough, not for him,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But it was it's just because the whole injury thing, and he started off slow because all this
Yeah.
kind of stuff because of the contract and stuff like that. So that was good. But I think it's just really sad to see them sell. Although where they're at in the standings, it's good that they're selling. It just, as a fan, it kind of sucks. So there was a lot of that was kind of my take on why.
I'll give you a little bit of positive out of it. I think
All
as
right.
far as the Diamondbacks, because this is how I'm looking at it. They still have
Mhm.
Ketel Marte. You still have Perdomo. You still have Corbin Carroll. You still have Zach Gallen, and you're going to give him a qualifying offer. And he's had a better back half of the season here. You
Obviously,
still
Corbin
got
Burns, hopefully.
yes. Oh yeah,
Be back.
Corbin Burns coming back. Why am I blanking on the catcher right now? Why am I?
Oh my gosh.
I cannot. I was going to say Miguel Montero.
Gabby.
There we go. Thank
Moreno.
you. Moreno. I was close. But yeah, Moreno's there. They got. I mean, we have the pieces.
True.
Continue to play. I just think again, injuries and health this year was just the biggest issue, especially in the bullpen and the rotation. We just couldn't recover with it. Ryan Nelson's had a great year this year under the radar. I think his ERA was like 2.238 last I checked, but just fantastic. But again, nobody talking about it because it's not our best year. But if he can continue to build on that, maybe Zach Gallen comes back and bounces back next year. And even though they traded Merrill Kelly, there's rumors that maybe he wants to come back. He's born and raised in Arizona, went to ASU. He could come back next year. And if Burns is healthy, we get, Eduardo Rodriguez has a better year, then boom, we're right back into contention. So it might suck for this year. It doesn't mean we're done for the next 5 yet. So.
True. Looking at your point, honestly, looking at this, we've scored 70, almost 80 more runs than the Padres, but we've given up 130 more runs. So
it's the pitching, especially the bullpen. The bullpen early in the year was terrible, but I think that was partially because we didn't have enough starters that were supposed to be there because of injury, and then they're not getting far enough in the games because they're not stretched out, which then the bullpen is pitching too many innings, and then they get beat up. So then it's just a bad cycle all around. So health next year is going to be the biggest concern.
We need Paul Skeens.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I know you saw him, and he's good. So.
Yeah, he kicked our ass 10-0. That was a fun game.
Well, too bad
for Pirates
win that day, but he doesn't get a lot of wins, unfortunately.
No, true, very true. All right, then. Now let's move to the winners. We'll start it off, or end it. I'm sorry, on a positive note.
There you go.
I think I kind of agree with you, but I couldn't pick the same team. Who do you have as this trade deadline's winner?
Yeah, Mariners. Getting Suarez back at the corner, getting Naylor at first, getting Caleb Ferguson in the back end of the bullpen. Woo's had a great year in the starting rotation. I think Kirby, I was watching tonight, was fantastic. He had 0 earned runs through 7. Cal Raleigh's had an amazing year. He's got 40 runs. And I was watching the broadcast, and the Mariner announcer even said, so every game I feel like we're just putting Kyle Raleigh in a new category of he's done this that nobody's ever done or hasn't been done since this long, or switch hitter.
Or as a catcher.
Yeah, all these things. He just keeps, improving and doing great things. So, Julio Rodriguez in center, JP Crawford at short, Rosarena in left, Rhodey. They just have everything, I think, in Seattle. I think they can really make a run, and I'm going to root for them because that's who I'm going for the rest of the year. Now, I will say slowly, like kind of Twins won because they traded everybody, but got a lot of young people under control.
True.
But they do suck.
Yeah. They are pretty trash. So there's that.
All right. Who you got winning the deadline, sir, since you couldn't pick the Mariners with me?
Yes, I couldn't pick the Mariners, and I didn't want to pick the Astros because I do think Carlos Correa coming back to town is a huge pickup. I'm going to go with the Phillies, and it's kind of double-sided. They already are a pretty stacked team, again, basically neck and neck with the Mets for the East title, but they grabbed the closer, Duran, less than a 2 ERA, an electric entrance to kind of ignite the crowd. I know that's kind of dumb, but dude, he can pitch.
Philly, man.
He
that
can
place
pitch.
is crazy anyway. That place is going to eat that
very
shit
true.
up.
So hitting and pitching, obviously the two biggest things, but in the playoffs, pitching, I believe, is very key, and holding leads is extremely necessary. Something they actually couldn't do against the Diamondbacks. That's what the Diamondbacks were known for in that NLCS is comebacks. The what do they call them?
The Arizona what is it? Diamondback?
Something of something around
yeah, I don't know
comeback and Diamondback, right? Yeah, something like that. So
It's
it's
alive
something
was
that
the
they
big slogan we were using at that time. That's the one.
exactly. So it's something that they actually struggled with. Now they really shored that up, but not only for themselves, but they kept them away from competitors. As I mentioned, the Dodgers were really looking to try to shore up their closing spot because their closer has like over a 5 ERA, and they kept it away from some of their toughest competitors. Especially maybe, I don't know, maybe the Mets already have a good closer, but even an in division closer would have been terrible to see. You know, the guy that they were going for is now beating them to grab division crowns. So I think that they were pretty big, even if it was just for the save alone, because their team is already pretty stacked.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you say it. Now that I think about it, they have Edwin Diaz for the Mets. So, but if the Mets and Phillies are playing the playoffs, whoever's home, their closer's coming out to an amazing song and light show. Like, we're gonna get both venues if they face off. I hope we get 7 games of that shit. That'll be great.
That'd be sweet. That'd be sweet. That's awesome. Well, that was a freaking marathon, but that's what the baseball trade deadline is.
I was gonna say, if you were paying attention to the deadline at all today, like I was at work, it just constantly boom, boom, boom. I was like, bro, I'm not. How can I put all this on the dock? I don't even know what we're gonna.
Literally can't even keep up. Literally can't keep up. So it was good. Let us know down below in the comments who you think won the trade deadline. Maybe who you think lost.
Yeah, or hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at RVUFTB, and join us as D-backs fans in the cellar and tell us who you're rooting for now instead. Are you a Mariners fan like we are, or who else are you picking?
Yeah, are you happy as a Twins fan that you're just basically starting in AAA all over again?
Sad,
anyways, appreciate everybody for stopping by. Thank you as always for seeing things from RV from the bench. I'm Brendan.
I'm Corey. Like we always say, enjoy the sports until we talk again.
Peace.
This was a Sycamore Fourth Studios production.